Okay, now let's just talk about what your body has gone through in terms of the actual physiology. Your body's ability to regulate itself has been completely obliterated. It doesn't necessarily know what sleep is and how to regulate it. It doesn't know about your heart beating regularly. It doesn't know about breathing being regulated. It doesn't know about eating and hunger being regulated. It doesn't know about alertness and attentiveness. It doesn't even know how to keep itself safe and to sense when things are not safe. It's in a state of dysregulation. That is if you're just coming right off of an abuse and trauma situation. But even if you haven't completely been recovering or working with your body, you'll just kind of think about, is my sleeping refreshing to me? Is my sleeping something that I can rely on? Is it something that I can go into a sleep and I can carry it forward and I feel refreshed? I wake up in the morning and I'm refreshed. If it's not, then it's not regulated. Do you feel your heart being kind of like easily activated to being really fast or just dysregulated? And it's not because you have a heart complication that's physiologically based, or even if it is, you want to recognize that the stress and trauma has put your heart through a lot. It has learned how to be in a startled angst situation. And I don't know your particular situation, but you want to be aware of your heart. And to be able to regulate your heart is very, very important. Your breathing too, and what's interesting is that for individuals that go through panic attacks, they don't even realize how dysregulated their breathing is. They don't realize that they're not breathing, or they're breathing too fast or breathing too slow. They don't realize it. And since breathing can happen without you being aware, and your heart rate can happen without you being aware, to become aware and to actually exercise regulation is a very opposite way of interacting with your body. You may have thought, well, my body should just respond, and now that it's no longer under stress or abuse or trauma, it should just kind of come back to ordinary. And maybe to some degree it has, but to the degree that it still is in the startle response or shock response or chronic stress response, then you have to realize I have to actually teach my body how to go into a regulated state. In order to be able to do that, you have to learn the tricks of regulation. And it's just really actually that simple. You have to learn the tricks of regulation. I'm going to show you some tools that you can actually get and use that will actually help you in the next video. This is equipment that helps you be able to regulate your heart, your brain waves, and also your breathing. Now, in addition to regulating your body in that regard, it also is not going to have a regulated appetite or a regulated way of eating. It's not going to necessarily crave things that are going to be really supportive of it. It's going to be responsive and reactive and kind of in the moment, an emergency sort of approach. And so you're also going to have to think, oh, I have to teach my body how to regulate its hunger, to either be hungry or to be hungry at the right time, to be craving the foods that are helpful for it, and things of that sort. Another thing is true is that your muscles and your skeletal body is going to be dysregulated. When you're under stress, you actually probably physically get out of alignment. Your spinal column, your head, your neck, anything that's kind of flexible can actually get out of sync. Maybe you're used to putting your shoulders up. It's kind of a way of, kind of dealing with the dread of something happening. And as a consequence, you're going to activate the muscles right in here that are going to be too tight. Or maybe you put your stress in your lower back. A lot of individuals that have gone through abuse have neck pain and lower back pain because they haven't learned how to deal with their skeletal muscular structure and learn how to align. And in a sense, that's kind of a way of regulating your body, to learn how to align your body, which means that you need to retrain your muscles and your bones. Is exactly what alignment is. So that's what you want to consciously say to yourself is, I need to help my body learn how to align. Need to help it learn how to regulate itself. So let's talk about eating as a first line defense, because that's actually the easiest thing to change when you think about it. And maybe you're craving foods, high carbohydrates, high sugars, and things of that sort. And you may be craving them because your body has gone through a state of stress eating. Stress eating usually just feels like it has to like store up a lot of calories in order to be able to wait for the impending disaster. And so when you've been in a chronic state of stress or an abuse, it always feels like you're under a state of impending disaster. So your body stores and stores and stores and stores and stores. And it gets hungry and it craves those high calorie foods. So maybe it's high fat, or maybe it's high sugar, or maybe it's high carbohydrates in bready sorts of things, or maybe it's high salt. So, it's like, look to what it is you're eating. Now, some people eat ice cream because it makes them feel calmer and cooler, literally. Some people need something to chew on, like chewy candy, because it makes them feel like the stress is debunked, or that there's a connection, that there's a feeling of being present with it. That's different. Like there's this kind of control. Some people need to just eat lots of fat. It just feels like they need a lot of fat because their body seems to be burning. It has that anxious kind of feel to it. And there may be variations of all these sorts of things for yourself. So you want to just ask yourself, well, what am I craving that is out of the normal healthy parameters? Now, you probably know what the normal healthy parameters are. And as I mentioned once before, my book, Own Your Peace, KISS Method for Inner Peaceful Living, it has a section all about being able to eat so that your body has peacefulness. So you can consult that. But all throughout the internet, there's all these ways of how do you eat so that you can have a sense of peacefulness, of regulation. You want your raw foods in there, if possible. That's your fruits and your vegetables. You want your grains that are whole and complete because they actually have a lot of anti-anxiety, anti-stress nutrients in them, such as your vitamin B's, your riboflavin, your thiamine. So that you're not getting rid of grains, you're just the whole grains. You want to be able to have your proteins, whatever way you want to get your proteins in, whether that's through milk products or animal products or vegan products, but you want to be able to make sure that your muscles have enough protein to be able to really conduct the proper amount of strength and expression of muscular support for yourself. So you want to make sure hydration, absolutely, hydration without sugar water, without the fruit juices, hydration so that you have enough liquid in your system to have every bit of that electrical process throughout your body going really well. You'll find out that some of you would prefer warm liquid, others would prefer cool liquid. And gauge that in terms of what makes you feel better, not only in terms of soothing yourself, but also in terms of feeling hydrated. And you want to be aware that there are some beverages that really don't do any hydration whatsoever. They actually dehydrate you. Alcohol is among that collection, as well as caffeinated drinks. So you want to make sure my drinking or my absorbing foods that have a lot of liquid in them. There is some study that suggests that if you had the right amount of hydration, your body would regulate very, very well in its hunger and its ability to function. So that's supremely important. Now, have I said anything that you don't know? Of course not. I didn't. But what I'm reminding you of is that this regulation of eating the foods that are all about your body being built up and supported, as opposed to stressed. The high sugars, the high fats, and the high carbohydrate, simple carbohydrate foods can stress your body and make you even feel hungry or thirsty or more exhausted. So now you have to look at, am I doing sugars, simple carbohydrates, that's the refined flours or the cookies or the cakes or the refined breads, or even a sugar presence in liquids or sugar presence in other types of foods, or the types of fat that are really saturated with fat. So I'm not talking about the healthy fats. So you want to say, what am I doing that's stress eating? What am I doing that just makes me feel like I want to store up lots of calories when I really don't need to anymore? I'm not in a stressful moment other than the memories, other than recovery process. But I'm not in the stress of abuse and trauma. Not to say that you're not in the middle of some sort of stress, but you're not in the same stress as abuse and trauma. You're in the stress of recovery and whatever else life is handing over to you. So you want to say to yourself, okay, what foods am I inclined to eat because I'm trying to manage my stress, because my body feels like it's in an emergency situation where it's trying to store up calories, Or have I gotten accustomed to that way of eating, but now I feel really tired? Ugh. And as we all know, simple carbohydrates and sugars have a way of really making you want to sleep. In fact, for some individuals that have insomnia, I actually recommend that a piece of bread with peanut butter, a piece of bread with turkey, or a glass of milk, maybe slightly warm with vanilla, at nighttime actually put people to sleep. Some people, sugary things make them go to sleep. So if you're having trouble sleeping, you might actually use that to help you regulate and learn to relax and fall asleep. Now, high energy foods are important because you want your body to feel supported so that it can become clear, cleansed, aligned, supported, and regulated. And so the fruits, the vegetables, the nuts, the complex carbohydrates, the complex grains, the great proteins for you, and the hydration, all of those things fortify your body so you can build up the strength in your body. Also, by regulating when you eat, even when you're not hungry, it can be of help too. So, while I'm not a big advocate that everybody has to eat by the same regulated way, it may be that for you, every 4 to 5 hours gives you enough time to eat, process, feel a little hungry, and then eat some more. So that you give your body enough time to digest and empty. So that every 4 to 5 hours. For others of you, you actually need to take something every 2 to 3 hours, in which case you would take the proteins and the vegetables would be ideal to take in between. So for others of you who have a blood sugar complication that's dysregulated by the stress or by just physiological complications, you're going to have to sit there and modify, do I need more actual sugar? Fruit juice? Do I need actual fruit? Do I need this sugar inside me because my body is so quick to lose the blood sugar that I need in order to stabilize? I'm sorry that this is kind of complicated, but the truth is that this is very individualized. And so you have to be able to look at yourself straight on and say, how am I eating that's dysregulating me, that's causing me further complications, and how might I eat that makes me feel in some sort of rhythm, some sort of alignment, some sort of strength, some sort of betterment. After 3 days of trying a certain collection of things, if it feels like you're getting better, stronger, clearer, a right amount of energy, then you're probably doing right by yourself. If after 3 days of eating a certain way you still feel off, you might want to modify and play with the various things that I'm talking about playing with in terms of your own sense of it. Now, one thing I want to leave you with is for sure this. In this entire course on your body, you'll notice that I'm trying to put you in charge of your body instead of your body in charge of you. Your mind, your thoughts, your choices, what you decide to do or not to do, what patterns you set up, you need to be in charge of actually creating a pattern. Because your body, in being dysregulated, can't necessarily send you really healthy signals. It doesn't actually necessarily know what it needs. Now, some of us, we've gone through stress and trauma and abuse, our bodies did not get enough trauma, shock, cortisol, excess adrenals. And so it's still trying to teach us, hey, regulate me this way. But for most of us, after abuse and trauma, you're dysregulated. And it is your mind that has to put into action choices, telling your body what you're going to give it as opposed to doing whatever your body feels like it needs to do. Because your body actually doesn't necessarily know that you've survived it and that you're now in the state of recovery. It may just still be in survival mode. And so this is the way of kind of deliberately saying, I'm going to choose my foods. One of the easiest things to choose, I'm going to choose my foods and regulate when I eat them and how I eat them. And that I'm going to play with trying to keep this very consistent until my body feels a sense of regulation. And that's very helpful. It gives you power, but it also gives you responsibility. Ever so often, if you want to fall into a craving, okay, but realize after you've done that, what sort of dysregulation might have occurred afterward. And an example would be, let's say that you decide to ingest just a whole bunch of sugar, Let's say that after that you feel very relaxed and relieved, and it works fine. You go through the night, you sleep well, you wake up in the morning, you feel fine. Okay, so that one time of doing that did not dysregulate you, and your body used it well. But let's just say that you do this time and time and time again. Your body's energy level will actually go down, and you'll actually begin to have disturbed sleep, potentially. And in disturbed sleep, because your eating patterns, you can change your eating patterns to help you with your sleep, potentially. So that's what you want to be saying, okay, I've gotten off of a pattern here. How did it work? Pay attention to the best of your abilities. Okay, so go ahead and do the self-reflection, gain knowledge, and the meditations, and then join me for number 2.